Meanwhile, Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, standing by the president, despite some conflicting reports on that. Take a look at this.
The Vice President has never had to persuade me to remain as Secretary of State because I have never considered leaving this post. While I'm new to Washington, I have learned that there are some who try to sow dissension to advance their own agenda by tearing others apart in an effort to undermine President Trump's own agenda. I do not, and I will not operate that way.
Could you address the main headline of this story that you called the president a moron? And if not, where do you think these reports or
I'm not going to deal with petty stuff like that. I mean, this is what I don't understand about Washington.
All right, maybe just me, but did you call the president a moron or not? It might be nonsense in your eyes and all, but that's what people are fixated on, that alleged comment. Is it real or not? To Politico Playbook co-author Anna Palmer and McClatchy, senior political correspondent Katie Glueck. Katie, what do you think? You never really answered that outright. Maybe just didn't want to, give it more than lip service. But what do you think?
Well, he certainly didn't address that piece of reporting head on and seemed to sort of make an effort to move on from the story. But certainly this is the latest instance in an administration that certainly has struggled with divisions among top personnel. And this was an effort by the Secretary of State to quash reporting that perhaps he was at odds with the president here. But you're right, he certainly did not address that particularly juicy piece of reporting head on and didn't deny it.
Yeah, the very fact that you're addressing reporters, Anna, indicates that you have to address this nonsense. So you might as well address the other part of the nonsense, or how you're describing it, by addressing the moron comment. But maybe I'm getting too into the weeds here. What do you think?
Listen, I think clearly this was an effort by Tillerson to try to squash this story that was getting legs. There's all kinds of rumors. Was he going to resign? Was he not going to resign? But this did the exact opposite. Instead of stopping the story and, potentially talking to the president, saying, listen, I'm on your team, and kind of appearing as a strong leader to foreign leaders that he needs to do business with on a daily basis, he basically undercut himself by not saying, yeah, you know what, I didn't say that. He just wouldn't even address it at all. And so this is going to become a second or third day story.
But Anna, do you think he ran this by the president and said, look, I'm going to say this is nonsense? And you think the president, if such a conversation happened, would have said, by the way, tell me you didn't say I was a moron? I don't know. I'm leaping here. But that's the one thing that's out there, that a top cabinet official is, disparaging his boss.
Yeah, I mean, what he did address was he said that the vice president and he did not have a conversation where he had to be convinced. The vice president has since put out a statement, saying the same exact thing, saying he's never had that kind of a conversation with Rex Tillerson. He in that comments, when he was commenting, he said he hadn't talked to the president. He thought he was on his way to Las Vegas. So it doesn't appear that this was a coordinated conversation, at least at the principal level. Who knows what was happening behind the scenes? It's hard to believe that the White House wouldn't be aware of what was going to be said, even at the staff level, if he was going to give a response to this kind of incendiary reporting.
We don't know what happened, Katie, and that I understand, and you don't want to feed the rumor beast, and that too I understand when this happens in either Republican or Democratic administrations. But it is what it is. You stop everything to make a press statement to sort of say, I never contemplated leaving. But it happens at a time when a number of Trump insiders are leaving of their own accord or forced out. And, the president did say over the weekend that, Secretary Tillerson could have at it and talk to, North Korea officials about getting a peace, but he's essentially wasting his time. So if you're Rex Tillerson and you're hearing that, aren't you saying, well, what the hell am I doing?
Well, this is the latest instance of tensions between elements of the White House and Rex Tillerson kind of bubbling up, coming to the forefront. Of course, there was a moment following protests in Charlottesville where Rex Tillerson appeared to be at odds with the president. He was not out there as forcefully as perhaps other members of the administration were defending the president's response to Charlottesville. And this is another moment that perhaps folks might look to as they're trying to assess exactly where this relationship stands. But I can tell you a lot of conservatives were already quite skeptical of Tillerson. There's all kinds of divisions within this White House and how various members of this White House are perceived in the broader conservative movement, the broader Republican Party. And this moment does appear to be something that may add fuel to that fire.
And I'm just wondering, again, these type of, internecine rivalries and differences between cabinet officials and people leaking stuff on cabinet officials, whether true or not, or fostering an image that there's discord, disarray. It's not unique to this administration, but we are seeing a lot more cases of it with this administration. I'm not imagining that.
Right. I think it should be no surprise to anybody that there are different teams in politics and there's kind of backbiting, particularly at the staff level. I think one of the things that we need to all kind of take a step back and look at this, where you kind of try to ascertain how come there are so many leaks, how come there is so much of this that's being played out in the press, is partly because a lot of these principals and staff haven't worked together for very long, right? You don't have these long-held loyalties that really kind of bind these, different individuals together to say we're going to row in the same direction. Even if I might not privately disagree with you, publicly we're going to come together. That's something that we haven't seen, and I think that that's part of it, is just that you have a lot of people that don't have that kind of 20-year-long history working together.
I'm just wondering, too, Katie, and then this might be when the president throws something out there, and of course he got elected largely on being this unconventional, feisty, fiery populist, and also there is a degree of that expectation. That's what you'll get. But a comment like today where he said maybe just forgive all of Puerto Rico's debt, $74 billion worth of debt. Well, a lot of Puerto Rican bonds are tumbling in price as a result. A lot of people in New York, of course, that hold those bonds are in complete disarray. Maybe that's just desserts. Whatever your opinion is, one thing. But that didn't sound like it was run through any powers that be, including the Secretary of State, whose purview that might warrant at least a heads up. What do you think?
Well, if in fact that's the case, that is classic Trump, the same Donald Trump that we saw on the campaign trail and that we've seen at times throughout his presidency. He is someone who will often throw out an idea there. And, there are some folks, including on Wall Street today, who are perhaps a bit skeptical of that. They note that we've heard a lot of talk about, some other legislative priorities that have yet to come to fruition. They point in particular to promises to repeal the Affordable Care Act. But at the same time, it's the President of the United States saying that, and when he says something or when he tweets something, that's something folks do need to take seriously.
Anna, do you think he ran that by anyone, the Puerto Rico thing?
I doubt it. I think this was really a trial balloon. It's something that he employs often on the campaign trail, but also here in Washington, trying to float something out there. You saw the cleanup that his OMB director, Mick Mulvaney, had to do, say, well, that's not really what he meant. So I think that you already have seen some division there within the administration about the likelihood of that actually happening.
All right. Ladies, thank you both very, very much.